My never I say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there. I see them. Yopo.
Thank you for being with us. Thank you for choosing PENDREAM TV, the only authentic source of your political gist. We urge you to subscribe, turn the notification bell on for more info.
To read, about your memoirs, and all that.
I've asked him about this memoirs matter several times.
Moro.
Or mommy, on can't be answering me.
Moro, listen. Again, it's not about modesty. It's about the truth. Who am I? I've lived relatively longer than most people, if you look at the statistics and so on. And in my lifetime, I've had the privilege of working and studying with all kinds of people. I've stolen their ideas, I've stolen their analysis. I've imbibed a lot from many people. I mean, Professor Tabritrum, all of them, and so on. You understand? So it's not about my personal brilliance. It's about the associations that we have formed as we grew, and so on. It's about what life has done. Life itself has imposed on us, and so on. And I get worried when people think that they're special. Nobody is special. I'm not special, and nobody is special.
Uncle, I disagree with you.
I mean,
respectfully.
since being here,
I disagree with you respectfully.
Hold on.
You are special.
On this program, for example, I've learned a lot from people like Collins. I've learned a lot from you. I used to learn a lot from Randy. Randy would go and do all his analysis and come and sit here and pour it out. And I imbibe it. And I use it on other platforms and so on. Yeah. And it looks like I'm brilliant. I'm only stealing from Randy's brilliance. And so that's how life is.
Yeah.
So forget about the personal brilliance and so on. Look, I went to a school that I really loved. And I think that the school shaped me in many ways. I went to school, and from that school I made great friends and so on. But I'm not the school, and the school is not me.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to mention names. I mean, parents spend huge amounts of money, sometimes in foreign currency, to send their children to some of the so-called top-class schools, international schools and so on. My brother, walk the streets of Accra, see the drug addicts on the streets. Where are they coming from? Be honest, moral. Many of those guys who went to those so-called top-notch schools and so on end up on the streets.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So it's not just the school. It's a combination of so many things. So many things, not just the school.
Right.
I mean, PSEC obviously is regarded as one of the biggest schools, in the country. They're winning quiz competitions. Their record, has always been good. From the days when they used to write GC and so on, has always been good. But I've seen people who have come from schools like Benkum Secondary School, who have grown up to be huge assets to the nation.
Right.
And I've seen people who didn't even go to secondary school at all, who are great assets and who are intellectual giants. Never went to secondary school, but they're intellectual giants.
Right.
I've worked with some of them and so on. So it's not just about the school.
Right.
The school may be important, but it's not just about the school.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But people who cultivate what I call a growth mindset, which typifies what Mr. Kwesi Pratt just said. So he interacts with people, he listens, attentively, and he learns, and then he uses what he learns on other platforms or other fora. That in itself is a mark of intelligence, and that's special because there are people. You see, if I'm to borrow the argument that he makes, that indeed there are people who have been to very good schools, but they've ended up on the streets. That's true. You have been to both. You've done both formal and informal education, because when you say you interact with people and you learn from them, that's informal education. But you have utilized, and usually when he's on a platform like this and he's talking, people think he's brought some plenty documents, and no, everything is from here. That in itself is a mark of intelligence and brilliance. So as for us, we're putting it to you, Uncle Kwesi, that you are special. We don't want you to agree with us. That's fine. But you are special. What? And we are still waiting for the memoirs. Yes, as for this one, we're not giving you the opportunity to say
I saw you present a book you had just authored. I wanted to tell you that I needed one.
Okay, was that which one?
Yes.
I don't know whether it's out now.
No, you will get one. I mean, the book was first launched on the sidelines of the AU high-level meeting in Malabo.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I spoke there and I introduced the book. And a number of interesting things have happened since then. I mean, to write a book and find out that it's in high demand, heads of states are demanding it. As a matter of fact, the Ghanaian president personally distributed copies of the book to his colleagues, which was very impressive. Of course, he wrote the foreword, which is a classic. I value his foreword even more than what I've written. It was a classic, you know, 3-page foreword by President John Dramani Mahama, which I think is really a classic, you know. But beyond that, I mean, all the foreign ministers wanted copies and so on. And those who were not there, since I've been back, have actually, through their embassies, requested for copies. As of last week, we had 30,000 requests for the book.
Whoa.
30,000, more than 30,000 requests for the book.
And hopefully you'll be able to meet demand.
Well, it's a challenge, you know, it's a challenge. We are struggling to meet the demand. And it's not, again, to be honest, it's not because this is an extraordinary book. Okay. It's the timing. This is the period where AU is focusing on reparations. And not much work has been done on reparations. And then besides, there had been, the whole reparation issue had been polarized completely. Initially, there were many Marxist analysts who rejected reparations. And then there were the culturalists, many people from the diaspora who looked at reparations from a cultural point of view. And then there are the strict legalists, you know, who saw reparations.
So that's the book on your screens.
Yeah, who saw reparations as just, you know, a legal issue and so on. Now, what I've attempted to do is to put all of these different views together and to see the point of unity, where all of them unite. Because I agree that no amount of money or resources can pay for the 12.6 million Africans who were captured as beasts of burden. No amount of money, no amount of resources can pay for that. But then I proceed to look at reparations as redistribution of surplus value and resetting the world, you know, to establish principles of equality and egalitarianism and so on. So if you approach reparations from that point of view, you bring about a certain unity. You know, it's a Marxist perspective, it's a Pan-Africanist perspective, and it's a perspective for justice. So all the different components are united. So what I sought to do was to build a platform which unites all Africans on the continent and in the diaspora, you know, to pursue this struggle and so on. And I recall one line in President Mahama's foreword. You know, there was one line in President Mahama's foreword which really struck me. And President Mahama's position was that just reading the book is a commitment to struggle. Wow.
Well, that's profound.
Yeah. That's one line written by President Mahama which struck me so very deeply, you know. So we'll see. We'll launch it on September 9th. And eventually we'll have to find ways of meeting the huge demand, you know, for the book. Everybody is asking about my memoirs, you know. Yes, I've done a lot of work on it. The last time I checked, I had done about 230 pages, you know. And I'm still not satisfied with what I'm doing. Indeed, my greatest problem is that a large number of people who I encountered in this life of struggle and pain and so on are still alive. And there are confidences that we shared. Am I going to reveal those confidences now?
It's tricky.
It's tricky, You know, there are many things that happen.
Which is what a lot of people want to read.
And that is why a lot of people
Yes,
want
yes,
to write, because they want to hear the untold story.
Yes.
But the untold story is not easily told. You understand? There are many things. I mean, there are things that I swore never to reveal. There are documents that I have which I've sworn never to make public. In fact, there's one document that I keep referring to. There's a letter, you know, so at 8 pages, handwritten letter from a very big political figure in Ghana. He wrote in his own handwriting about 8 or 9 pages, you know, lamentations, his inner feelings, and so on. And when I got that letter and I read it, I pitied him. Wow.
Would you be kind enough to tell us under what regime?
Well, this was under the Rawlings regime.
Under the Rawlings
But
regime.
the person was not necessarily part of the Rawlings regime. Okay. But when I read his lamentations and so on, I really pitied him. You know, I felt sad for him. You know, the stature he had attained was far bigger than who he really was. You know, and so I got this letter. The letter was important for me because I thought it was an important historical document. You know. So what did I do? I said, I need to make a copy of this for somebody for posterity, you know. But that person has to make a promise that he would never disclose the content of this letter. So I made only one copy. And you know who I gave that letter to? Surprise, surprise. I gave it to Kukubaku.
Oh,
Well, I'm not surprised.
I gave that letter to Kukubaku. And he had to promise that he will keep it, but never disclose it. And he has kept his promise after today. He's never, he's made reference to the letter once, twice, or thrice, but he's never disclosed the content of the letter. That's a very devastating letter. All the myths about this gentleman will be shattered by his own words, his own letter. We have to protect him. He made sacrifices for advancement. No matter what his weaknesses were, he made a contribution, and he deserves to be protected. You know, so it makes the writing of memoirs exceedingly difficult. It's an exceedingly difficult enterprise, you know.
Well, please, you just tell us what you can tell us. What you can. We'll appreciate it. But perhaps it would also not be a bad idea to seek their permission. See whether minds have changed, because sometimes minds can change.
This document I'm referring to, I'll tell you a story, short story. Oh, why is the program becoming like this? But let me tell you a very short story. At one stage, there was a huge contest for the presidential candidature of the New Patriotic Party. And one of the candidates got to know that a letter like this existed. So this candidate invites me and he says, that letter must be published.
Oof. Treachery.
And I said, no, it will never be published. He said, why are you protecting him? So I'm protecting him because he's made strong contributions to our struggle. And he cannot be destroyed. One of the major contestants, I think I should leave it there.
Whoa. Whoa. It's called the untold story.
Yeah.
You know, but please consider the suggestion I made, which is maybe go back to some of them and find out whether minds have changed. And if they still insist it's treated confidentially, then it remains so.
But when I finish, I'll give it to some of the participants in the struggle.
To have a look.
Some of my close friends to have a look at it and to try and sanitize it, you know. Because look, there are things that were done in the past mistakenly. There are things that were done out of commitment and so on. But even today, they still have impact. They will make an impact. And they can destroy many things and so on. So all of us who are involved in that struggle have a responsibility to protect the integrity of the struggles that we wage and also not to unnecessarily destroy those who stood by us. You know, in those moments of pain and blood, real blood. A lot of people died in the struggle. You know, many people died in the struggle. You know, and people sit back and they think that what we have today is normal. I mean, they take it for granted and so on. People died to get us here. People were killed. You know, people died. I mean, the painful story of participants in this struggle. You know, I mean, 3 weeks ago, I was talking to Sergeant Alorga Akatapori, and he almost shed tears. You know, Akatapori almost shed tears, just remembering the young soldiers that he cultivated and so on, who were executed without a chance to defend themselves. And he still bears the guilt, you know. So many things have happened, and I think that history itself is a delicate subject and must be treated very delicately by all of us who participated in it, you know.
Okay, all right. History can also be made depending on how the NPP goes about selecting or electing their leader. And the party is looking for a leader. The party has to quickly reorganize, as it says, because they say time, no day. And the cracks that have emerged in the party can quickly be mended if a leader emerges. And so all kinds of preparations, or various preparations are ongoing. So yesterday you held a news conference. And in that news conference, you made some announcements. Today's Daily Guide is reporting some of those announcements that have been made. So it says the NPP flag bearer race aspirants to pay 600,000 cedis. Again, you look at the Daily Statesman, it says time to put collective well-being above self. Agyapong unveils plan to lead NPP as 2028 flag bearer. It is NPP opens nominations for flag bearer election. You look at the publisher too, it says Baumia others to pay 600,000 cedis. Adokufo chairs vetting. So these are the main newspapers that have carried, from the ones that we have, that have carried the NPP's presser yesterday. We played quite a bit of it before we started, when the show started actually. So Ebenezer K. Amponsa is reporting that the aspirants of the 2026 New Patriotic Party flag bearer position will be required to pay a total amount of 600,000 cedis, which includes 100,000 cedis nomination fee and 500,000 cedis filing fee. The General Secretary of the party, Justin Kodia Frimpong, who announced this at a press briefing yesterday in Accra when nominations were opened, said any member of the party wishing to apply for a nomination as the party's presidential candidate shall obtain the nomination forms after paying a non-refundable fee of 100,000 Ghana cedis in banker's draft in favor of the New Patriotic Party headquarters, Accra. He further added the filing fee for the presidential nominations is 500,000 Ghana cedis to be paid in banker's draft in favor of the New Patriotic Party national headquarters, Accra. According to the party, nomination for the position of the party's flag bearer will close on Thursday, August 28, 2025, pursuant to Article 13.1.2 of his Constitution. Now, the General Secretary, who also indicated that apart from the fee for the nomination forms and filing fee, an aspiring presidential candidate is also required to pay a development fee. And College, you tell us what the development fee is all about, as determined by the National Council. Now, members to participate in the flag bearer election. Now, members of the party who are eligible to participate in the election, according to the General Secretary, include all members of the National Council, voting members of the National Executive Committee, all voting members of the regional executive committees, and all former regional executives. The rest are all voting members of the constituency executive committees, all former constituency executives, all electoral area coordinators, and the 5 polling station executive officers in each polling station, all members of the National Council of Elders, the 30 members of the National Council of Patrons. There's also all the party's members of parliament, all the party's former card-bearing members of parliament, and all former party card-bearing members, bearing parliamentary candidates. And there's also a 9-member election committee. Mr. Kodia noted that the 5-member presidential election committee chaired by Joseph Osei-Wusu, former member of parliament for Bekwai and former first deputy speaker of parliament, was constituted to steer the affairs of the campaign and all issues bordering on election of the presidential candidate. Other members of the committee are Barbara Benisa, Isaac Yabuama Ampofo. There's Edusei, so Isaac Yabuama Ampofo Edusei, Madame Ifua Jechiwa, Evans Nebako, William Yamwa, Madam Rita Talata Asobaire, and Kwabena Abankwa Bowa. And also there was issues about Akutia by-election, but that's not the focus of our conversation for now. There's also NPP opens nominations of flag elections, so I've looked at that already. And then would come up with the Kwabena Agyapong yesterday held a news conference as well, where he formally announced his bid to run for the race. What else do we need to know? How important is yesterday's announcement, first of all?
The General Secretary party took time to explain, especially after the national conference. And if you look at the press statement that was released, it indicated exactly who the delegates are going to be for the January 31st election. If you recall, during the conference, there were some amendments, but some of the amendments took immediate effect, whilst others will be after the presidential primaries. So It was important for him to spell out exactly who are going to be the delegates. Now, the prospective candidates will know exactly who to approach, to speak to, and to sell their message to before January 31st. Yesterday, I also listened to Mr. Kennedy Ohene Agyapong, also officially indicating his intention to contest.
Yeah.
I think I listened to an interview he had.
In fact, there's a press statement to that
Yes,
effect.
on Net 2, and then subsequently there was a press statement from his camp. I hear the former vice president is out of the jurisdiction, and I'm sure when he also returns, he may throw in his intention to contest. I've heard people talk about the amount of money, which is the 600,000, that is being required for the prospective candidate to pay. Others have argued that it's quite a little bit, it's a little bit huge, 600,000. But I believe that it's not easy to run a national campaign. I mean, one of the things that a candidate should be able to demonstrate is your ability to bring resources together to pursue a very national campaign. I'm told they'll be paying some development fees.
Yes.
I have not spoken to any of the national executives to understand what that actually means, but I foresee that conducting the elections will come with some costs.
Yeah.
Security, the Electoral Commission, printing of ballot papers will come with the costs. And the party, I'm sure, will be relying on some of these individuals, a prospective candidate, to assist in that process. Probably there's a development fees to assist in that process, but I'm open for any further explanation from the national hierarchy. But I foresee that they will need some funding as a party to ensure that the elections are held quite smoothly without any hiccups. It's a very significant election for us as a party, because the winner then will be leading the party to the 2028 elections, which is going to be a very major elections for Ghana and for us as a party. The names coming up, as I said, I've seen Kwabena Agyapong declare his intention yesterday. Honorable Kennedy Agyapong has done so. I am very optimistic that the former vice president will do so. I've heard Mr. Brian Agyapong obviously will do so, because he had indicated to us that he will contest. The Joe Ganti's name has come up. Adenimo, the veteran contestant, is coming back again.
In fact, you forgot to ask serial
contestant.
yes.
And then the former education minister, Edichum.
Yes, doctor.
Has also declared his intention to contest. And the amendment that took place at the conference indicated that now we are not going to have the super delegate election. So it's just going to be a one-off election. It is my hope that as we begin the campaign, supporters of all the candidates will be circumspect in their language. That is what is key for me. I realized amongst themselves, the candidates themselves, there seems to be some mutual respect for each one of them, you know. But the supporters sometimes, out of exuberance, sometimes we say one or two things that becomes very difficult to take back after the election. So my advice to all the supporters of the various candidates is that let's be circumspect with our language, and let's abide by the rules of the game. Let's promote our candidates in a very peaceful and respectful manner. Because the task ahead is quite a huge one, very huge task ahead. And the only way we can make some impact in the 2028 election is when we come together as a unit. And that can only happen when we show mutual respect to each other. The vetting committee is going to be chaired by Mr. Adokufo, very respected personality, both within our party and Ghana as a whole. I'm sure his team will do a good job in fine-tuning this whole process when the vetting starts. I was happy when I heard his name because he has a lot of respect from, I think, all the candidates. He's a veteran, he's been in the party for a very long time, held various positions within the party, understands the history and the background of the party. I think he's well chosen to lead the vetting committee. The nominations is going to be open for close to a month. It closes in August.
28th.
August 28th. So it's virtually a whole month. And so within that time, I'm sure all those who are still in their consultative stages would have concluded and taken a firm decision to contest or not. But I wish all of them well. I wish all the potential aspirants well. As a Democrat, what is important is that whoever wins will need the support of all the other aspirants. And I pray that we have a very decent campaign, and at the end of the day, the delegates will decide on who should lead the party to the 2028 elections.
Kwesi.
There's so many interesting things about this contest, you know. And for me, one of the most interesting things is the selection of Dr. Adokufo as the chairperson of the vetting committee. And I say this in all seriousness. Dr. Adokufo is a friend of mine. Had many conversations with him. One of the most remarkable things about him is his abundant respect for Osadifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Doesn't that surprise you? He has so much respect for Nkrumah, and he talks passionately about Nkrumah anytime I've had conversations with him and so on. Now, this is the person who has been selected by a party which to all intents and purposes stands in opposition to virtually everything that Nkrumah did and so on, and he's going to vet a process leading to the selection of the topmost leader of the party. I find that very, very interesting. I'm not a doctor, certainly not. Never tried it. I may not have been a successful one if I had tried. You understand? But the last time I saw him, he didn't appear to look too well.
Yeah.
You know, and Collins, I'm sure you've seen him recently, he didn't appear to be too well. And maybe he has recovered, because I haven't seen him for a very long time. I would have thought that party leaders who have served so much, contributed so much, you know, in their moments of weakness, should be protected and should not be given extra burdens which may tax them, may tax their physical abilities and so on. But that's the decision of the New Patriotic Party. Yes, Collins speaks about the fact that people think that the filing fee of 600,000 Ghana cedis is excessive. From what I'm seeing, it's nothing. Wow! I'm moving around the city and I'm seeing the billboards. Wow. Now, if people are able to spend so much on branding, and you know, billboards are not cheap, you know it.
Yeah, very expensive.
You know, I mean, there's some edifice on the Ringway which has been completely branded in somebody's, with somebody's effigy and so on. I can just imagine how much that cost.
Yeah.
You know. So all of this just tells me that this is going to be a very expensive venture. And it's not going to be a venture for the faint-hearted. It's a very, very expensive venture. You understand? And many times people ask, where does the money come from? The money comes from businessmen sometimes.
Friends.
From people who anticipate that when the political party wins power, they will get contracts. Sometimes from friends, even sometimes from people who are not so friendly, who are doing all kinds of calculations. There are some people who decide that, look, there's going to be a contest. Let me support all sides, because we never know, you know, what may happen in the future. So they support all the candidates.
That's why there are political risk analysts. That's what they do.
But there are some who don't take any risk.
Yes, I know.
There are 8 candidates, he supports all the 8 candidates.
Yes.
You know, so whoever wins, he appears to be in the good books and so on. Now, it has been argued that the huge expenditure on these campaigns and so on is worrying to the extent that it may fuel corruption in the future.
Right.
You understand? And I think that that argument is strong. And it's not about the New Patriotic Party. Indeed, it's about all the political parties. If you make contesting for positions in parties so expensive, people sometimes tend to want to recoup their investments. And the process of recouping investment usually has to do with taking from state coffers, you know, in order to plug holes which had been filled and so on. There was one particular report that I read which was so shocking, that some persons aspiring to members of parliament actually take loans to finance their campaigns. You know, and I've been told stories by members of parliament who, in their first few years in parliament, actually virtually take home nothing.
Yeah.
After paying for their car loans and so on, and paying for the bank loans they use to finance their campaigns. So they go home empty-handed. Yeah. And this has encouraged what was disclosed by PC Apiofori, if you remember. PC Apiofori alleged that sometimes when they have to pass bills and so on, people have to come and perform some rituals.
Yeah.
You understand? Now, if you have a whole MP and the MPs really suffer, he goes to his constituency on a weekend and there are 8 funerals and he has to attend all the funerals. And the MP cannot go to a funeral and donate 50 cedis. He will lose the elections.
Right.
So if an MP goes to a funeral, some of them donate as much as 5,000. So imagine that one weekend, he has 4 funerals to attend. That's 20,000 for one weekend.
Right.
How many weekends in a month and so on? So they really suffer. And this has led to calls to ensure that we make elections less expensive. From what is happening with these nominations, I don't think that we are anywhere near making elections less expensive. Now, I've also taken a look at the list of persons who are proclaiming or declaring their intent to contest, their intent to be presidential candidate of the New Patriotic Party, and perhaps, hopefully, become presidents of Ghana. And the list is interesting. There is Dr. Adotrum, whom I interviewed, and he made his intentions very clear that he's going to contest, you know. And he thinks that his strong point is education. And he thinks that he's learned a lot from the United States of America, which he can bring to Ghana and so on. He thinks he's been a loyal party member those are his credentials, you know. Nothing against that. Then there is the guy you unfairly describe as a serial contester. I think it's most unfair.
Okay.
I'm talking about
when we come back, I want to tell you why it's unfair. Please stay with us. This is Good Morning Ghana. You're live in Good Morning Ghana on Metro Television. I'm here with Mr. Kwesi Pratt Jr. of the Insight newspaper. He's the managing editor, and also Collins Adumaku-Mensah, who is the MP for the good people of Ifija-Kwabre North, and also a member of the Finance Committee. So, yes, obviously, you were talking about Adainimo.
Yes, I was talking about Adainimo. But before then, you know, if you take the Insight,
yes,
you would realize that my name has been removed from the paper.
Oh, okay.
The staff decided to remove my name.
Oh, no, we have to protest.
No. You know, so there's an acting editor there.
There's an acting editor there.
It's completely missing. I like it because I don't play an active part.
Yes.
Publishing the paper. But we're talking about
Adainimo, or the
Mr.
aspirants.
Adainimo.
Yes.
And I was making the point that you guys have been quite unfair to him by reference to him as a serial contestant.
Yes.
You see, the first time he entered the race, he was the sensation of the moment.
Yeah.
Quite sensational. He was entering the race for the first time. He didn't have resources. All he had was a message and so on. And I think he placed third with exciting votes. He had a lot of votes. I can't remember the actual, but he placed third. And everybody then said that he was the man to watch. He was the man of the future. So you have to look at him within that context. Of course, in the last contest, he didn't do well at all. And that, I think, was primarily due to the fact that he couldn't mobilize the resources required, you know, to penetrate the constituencies and so on. But he has interesting ideas. It seems to me that if you're looking for a unifier in the party, it's Mr. Adainimo. He's a unifier. He's not given to vitriolics. You know, I've never heard him insult anybody and so on. He's quite a gentleman, you know, and those are his strong points. His weakest point is his inability to mobilize resources, I think, you know. So he has also declared. And then there is my friend, Agyapong, who has been in the trenches for a very long time, you know, and who even as the head of a bank in New Jersey, was the head of a bank in New Jersey. I visited him at home, and I was amazed at the affluence around him. You know, I mean, even the security you had to go through to get to him and so on in New Jersey. And I thought
Bank of America, isn't it?
Yeah, in New Jersey. And I thought that, look, if it was just wealth that he was looking for, if it was just affluence he was looking for, he needn't come back to Ghana and participate in the politics. Because he was living very, very well and large in New Jersey when I visited him. I visited him with the late Charles Bainey, you know, and I've been in touch with him since then. So he's not one who appears to want to use politics to amass wealth and so on. He's past that stage. I don't think that is one. I think he's one who is committed to principles and so on. But unfortunately, he hasn't done very well in this context, you know. And there is something about him which is shocking for me. This is a gentleman that everybody, almost everybody agrees, will be a fantastic national chairman. In fact, I saw a video of him addressing some party loyalists and so on. They were all in unison chanting that he should be the next party chairman. But he doesn't appear to want to be the chairman. His eyes are fixated on the presidential candidature. Why? I don't know. Because I've spoken to many people in the party and they say that, look, if only he would opt to become national chairman, it would be easy. He can win so easily. But he doesn't want it, you know, and that's entirely his business. You know, it's not my business. If I were to listen, and if he were to take my advice, it would have been that he should contest for the national chairmanship position. But who am I? I'm a nobody. My words don't matter and so on. So fine. Okay. So he will contest. He makes a point that his primary focus is on return to the values of the party. Sometimes I really wonder what those values are, because they're articulated in different ways by different people and so on. So I don't see a coherent set of values, but he may have his own ideas about the values and all. Then there is this gentleman who became Minister of Agriculture. What's his name? Brian Agyapong.
Brian Agyapong, yes. Dr. Brian Agyapong.
I don't know him well.
Okay.
I'm quite honest about it. I don't know him well.
Okay.
He had a brief stint at the Ministry of Agriculture, and his stint at the Ministry of Agriculture was so brief that I think it's even unfair to assess him on the basis of his performance at that ministry. That ministry didn't do well. I mean, under NPP didn't do well at all. Everybody knows, the statistics speak about it and so on. But he appears to have access to huge resources.
He's a businessman.
Yeah, he appears to have access to huge resources which may count in his favor in a contest like this. Okay. But beyond the resources, you need to have also a certain gravitas when it comes to grassroots work and so on. I'm not sure about him. You understand? In the heady days of Blood and Thunder, he was not there. People like Dambotri and others were in the trenches. Boachi Ejaku was in the trenches. I think more or less, he's a relatively newcomer. And how that plays out, I don't know. I'm not going to predict. Then there is former Vice President Mahmoud Bawumia. Of course, having been Vice President twice and presidential candidate once, I think we know his spots. His spots are not new. He's displayed them sufficiently. Everybody knows what he's capable of and what he's not capable of and so on. It's not a new quantity, you understand? And being an old quantity, the question that arises is that what will be new this time? What is going to be new about him this time? It's a legitimate question. He hasn't answered that question yet, but we are all waiting. In the next few months, people will be answering all these very important, questions. There's been some speculation about the fact that the former president is not in his camp, but it's pure speculation. I cannot say for a fact whether the former president is in his camp or not, but we've all heard about that speculation. Now, if it turns out that the former president has decamped, what are the likely consequences of that on his campaign and so on? And then there is Kennedy Akompreku Agyapong. Very, very interesting candidate. His last performance shocked many people. Many people didn't think that he would do that well, but he did. Can he repeat that performance or can he do better than that? That's a matter of speculation, but he's in the race. And what he appears to offer is a certain sense that it is private business which will drive the economy. I'm not so sure about that, but that is the sense you get from listening to him and so on. He also appears to be a darling of the masses of the party and the darling of the masses outside the party. Because they see themselves in him. I mean, I saw an Uber driver last week and who swore that he is not an NPP person. That if Kennedy Agyapong is elected as flag bearer, he will join the NPP and campaign for him. And what were his reasons? He says, he speaks like me. This is the Uber driver. He says, the man speaks like me. So they see themselves in him. How that would materialize in terms of votes and so on is also another matter. At this stage, we can only deal with speculation and so on. One of the people that I used to think was a shining star in the NPP, I think has done some damage to himself. substantial damage to himself. I'm speaking about Kwabena Agyapong. Why do I say so? In the last contest, he came up as a man who was preaching values, a man who was concerned about decency, a man who was worried that the nation was pursuing a certain path which was likely to lead to doom. He was worried about the domination of the party by a certain cabal and so on, So he was refreshing, most refreshing. He stood for values. He was an icon of the reformers in the party and so on. And then he lost. In the first round or so, he lost. Hail Presto, in the next moment, he had joined the very people he was blaming for the state of the party and the state of the nation.
There's an explanation for that.
I'll be happy to hear that explanation.
His explanation is that as a party person, he is enjoined both morally and per the party's constitution to join the winning team. It doesn't matter how you feel or think about the person.
Is that not an unfortunate statement?
That's what he said, yes.
Is that not
he said he didn't have any option.
Master, is that not an unfortunate statement for anybody aspiring for national leadership to make?
Why?
It's a most unfortunate statement. So you're saying that because you belong to a party, even if the party is driving the country into a ditch, you will help the party to drive the country into a ditch. Is that a very edifying statement? That party loyalty counts more than anything else.
Yes.
Can you say that? Can you believe that? That's the most... I don't think that you've done him any good.
He was on a platform yesterday and this question came up. He was asked.
And that was his answer?
Yes.
Oh,
I heard
my
it
goodness.
very clearly.
Oh my goodness.
Loud and clear.
Well,
He said, in fact, it even surprises him that people are asking this question. That as a patriotic member of the party, once a leader is elected, there's nothing about what I think or feel about somebody. There's a new leader. Follow the leader. Finish. Leader, no road.
If you think that that leader is demented, if you think that that leader has fascist tendencies, yes. If you think that that leader is incompetent and so on, you still support him on the basis of party
That's
loyalty.
the popular choice and will of the people. Your opinions don't matter anymore. Your feelings and opinions don't matter.
Well,
campaign for the person.
If people think like this,
and his argument is that tomorrow, if he becomes the leader of the new patriotic party, he doesn't want anybody's decision to be informed by what they think about him, so that he's there. Follow me.
Okay.
Yes.
But then that's the problem.
Yes.
Then we should not be surprised that Hitler emerged as a leader. I mean, if this is the mentality, then we should not be surprised that Hitler emerged as an elected popular leader, yes, and destroyed the world. Loyalty to party first. Loyalty to party, yes, and so on. It's a very dangerous phenomenon, But that's his problem. Now, as you say, these questions were put to him. Yes. Now he has to justify, what he did. In fact, he thinks it's a needless question. Yeah, but he's not the world. Yes. He's just one person out of billions of people who inhabit this earth. Yes. And those who think that it's a question which deserves answers will continue to pose that question. Yeah. And he will have to justify it. He have to reconcile his positions, I mean, I feel very sad that somebody like him, who appeared to be a very bright star, has found himself in this bind. You understand? But then there are others who are likely to emerge. I mean, he's mentioned a number of names. I mean, I'm hearing Joe Gatti, for example. He's also contested on a number of occasions. His scores have never been good, and if he's coming back... Interestingly, he's also one of those who's been talked into, trying the chairmanship position. I've heard that. I've heard that people think that if Boakye Jaku would not accept to be chairman, Joe Gatti, then Joe Gatti may be, But Joe Gatti has been in the trenches for a long time. Yeah. Jogate was in the trenches from the late 1980s and took very active part in the struggles and so on. He didn't play a frontline role, but he played a very important part. And he knows the party like the back of his hand. Jogate worked with people like B.J. Darocha and so on. So he knows the party history, he knows the party tradition. He's a reasonable person. Jogate, I think, is a very reasonable person and so on. So he's also, if he wants to join the race, fair enough.
Yeah.
There are others who joined or attempted to join the race whose names I'm not hearing. There's a guy, I think he's called Poku. Something Poku. He starts himself as an energy expert.
He's Poku. He's an energy expert, yes. But
he's not in the race.
Yeah, he's not in the race this time.
Okay,
yes,
okay.
He's not in the race. In fact, he's declared his support for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So all of these things will happen. Then, of course, there's the issue of timing. Okay. There's the fear, even within the party, that given the fact that they are proposing to elect the flag bearer next year and to hold National Executive Committee elections and so on later, whoever emerges as the president or presidential candidate will have a stamp on the election of party officials.
True.
That's a worry. It's a worry within the party, okay? And a lot of people are saying that they don't want what they refer to as a repetition of the Akufo-Addo era, where he virtually, decided everything for the party and so on. But be that as it may, they have railroaded this process, and whatever happens, the flag bearer will be elected first. They will have to deal with the consequences, later. Right now, there's a huge question about founding members of the party who appear to have been sidelined or who have claimed publicly that they've been sidelined. And one of the questions has been, what role is there for somebody like former President Kufuor, who...
Is he still out of town? Or is that? Oh, he's out of town.
Yeah, but who has said publicly, who has spoken about his discomfort, about how he's been treated and so on. So how are you going to deal with that? And then there are very prominent members of the party, like Mr. Kwame Pienim, an excellent gentleman, a serious mobilizer of funds.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't know that the Kokomemle office, which became the headquarters of the party, it was people like Kwame Pienim who put the resources together to buy the first headquarters of the New Patriotic Party.
Right.
And at that time, the New Patriotic Party was the only party which owned its own headquarters.
Okay.
So he's there, and the impression is that he himself has not been so fully integrated in the party machinery now. So how you deal with that, of course.
Because he sees himself more as a statesman rather than an NPP stalwart per se.
No, but he sees himself as somebody who has a duty to help reshape the party they founded.
Okay.
And I've had conversations with him, so I know what I'm talking about, And then there are the Sami Crabs, the Paula Focus.
Oh, you haven't heard the latest?
Which is?
The party just last week, I don't know whether early this week, issued a statement and said the party's new constitution, everybody who was suspended indefinitely, the suspension is reversed.
Oh, that may be a healthy thing.
Yes, Anamewa.
Yes.
Yes, it's reversed.
That may be healthy, that may be useful.
Yes.
Those who, on their own,
Yes.
If the party suspended you, everybody has been recorded.
Yes, you're back.
Fantastic. But then you still need some effort to bring them to the center.
Well, I agree.
This declaration is not enough.
I agree. This is just purely administrative.
It's not enough.
Yeah.
There is also somebody like Nyaho Tamakro.
Yeah.
Togbe Dr. Nyaho Tamakro.
Yeah.
Who used to be a very influential member of the party. He's a founding member of the party, had a lot of influence, and still has a lot of influence in Ghana.
True.
You understand? So all of these people are there sitting on the sidelines. And
he was one of those who was suspended, isn't it? With the likes of Dr. Takenedi and so on. So technically speaking, they are now NPP, unless they are not willing to be a part of the party anymore officially.
And you talk about somebody like Dr. Kobna
Kennedy,
Atakennedy,
yes.
who likes to speak his mind. He's been like that ever since he was a teenager.
Yeah.
Always speaks his mind and so on.
That's why he wrote his book.
Yes. And now, anytime he makes a statement and you make reference to it, communicators of the party say, is he a member of the party? And so on. And I wonder.
They've been fighting us every day, so we should stop describing them as leading members of the New Patriotic Party.
Yeah. So as far as these communicators, most of whom are very, very young people and so on, are concerned, people like Atakobna Kennedy and so on have been shown the exit already. I find that strange. Every party should be able to tolerate those who do not agree with the main trend in the party. You understand? But unfortunately, I'm seeing something else. Whatever happens, all of this contest and so on ought to be about how to improve educational infrastructure, how to improve access to education, how to improve the state of the national economy, how to make sure that pensioners will have access to health care. These are the important things, how to improve national agriculture and so on.
Yeah.
It's not a beauty contest. It should not be a beauty contest.
Right.
It should be a serious contest about the destiny of Ghana.
Right.
Finish.
All right. Now, speaking about the issue of the price or the fees that people are supposed to pay, and you raised the issue about that can be a barrier to entry, and the fact that it breeds corruption and so on. Because don't you think that a bigger conversation, as we've always had, ought to be brought to the fore again, which has to do with political party funding, not in terms of the state's intervention, but more to do with has the political parties or have the political parties been able to figure a way out, or a mechanism through which they can fund itself, so that you don't have a situation where the party is owned or hijacked by the highest bidder. It looks like the political parties are struggling to figure that out. And recently the NDC, I heard them, they were actually publicizing some codes, short codes and so on, that if you want to contribute. In fact, they even have different categories of cards. I think they have the silver, they have the diamond, they have, and I don't know how that is working. But it appears that there's some real difficulties in getting for these political parties to find a way or a mechanism through which they can raise sufficient funds, so that you don't have to charge people 500,000, 600,000, 300,000 for them just because they want to serve their party and serve Ghana.
Okay.
What do you think, Uncle Kwesi?
I don't think that the political parties have a problem
Okay.
figuring out a mechanism. What I think the real problem is that we have tended to elect lazy and unimaginative people into positions of influence and power in the political parties.
Right.
That's the problem.
Right.
You understand? The state itself has provided a mechanism to check that.
Yeah.
And that is why under our laws, political parties are required to submit audited accounts on a regular basis to the Electoral Commission.
True.
They don't.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah.
And what they do, these accounts are fictitious. No, I'm serious. What they do, these accounts are fictitious.
Yeah.
I mean, some years ago, I saw some of the accounts which have been presented to the Electoral Commission. Which party organizes a campaign in Ghana and the figures are not in the millions, tens of millions? So when a political party presents an account and the total value of that account is 1.5 million or 2 million, obviously it's fake.
Yeah.
You understand? So the audited accounts that the political parties send to the Electoral Commission do not reflect the real figures.
Right.
And therefore, the Electoral Commission is not able to exercise oversight responsibility.
Okay.
How do we make sure that they submit true accounts?
Yeah.
And so on. That's one. Now, if you travel outside this country, political parties don't generate resources for campaign and so on by taxing presidential aspirants.
Okay.
They do that from their investments.
Right.
And if you go to the UK, the left-wing parties, the socialist parties and the communist parties, they run hostels.
Right.
They run newspapers. Party members volunteer to sell the newspapers on the streets.
Yeah.
Without taking a commission and so on. So hostels, newspapers, and so on bring in resources for running party organizations. Some of them run printing houses and so on. Some are engaged in book publishing. And so to generate the resources.
Yeah.
Here you let people as general secretaries, national chairman, and so on. They go and sit in the office. And every time there's an activity, they submit a budget to the presidential candidate. Or while their party is in power, they submit the budget to Flagstaff House. And submission of budget has become an industry in the political parties.
Yeah.
Everybody is preparing budgets and submitting. There's no imagination, there's no thinking, and in a lot of the parties, many members don't even pay dues.
Yeah.
There are a number of parties where even the leaders don't pay dues. You understand?
Okay.
So that's the problem. As for state funding of political parties, it's been canvassed a number of times.
Yeah,
so
we're not there yet.
I don't think that given our situation now, we should take the little resources that we can invest in making life more comfortable for the people and give to these political party leaders who have not yielded to any principle of accountability.
Okay. Collins.
Thank you for being with us. Thank you for choosing us. Thank you for making us your #1 channel. As you all know, PENDREAM TV is the only source of your factual political gist, which I'll urge you to subscribe, like, and also share to other friends of yours. Thank you.
Dedi kama mamena PENDREAM TV ase. Na so far so good. Say open online portal e wo Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.